Well, central to this passage is something new. Now, previously we've seen those who complained, but they were the religious leaders. But now we have his followers who are complaining. And some of them turned back. This is new. They didn't want to hear it. It was too difficult, too hard for them. They wanted to reject the message. So, when you hear something you don't want to hear, how do you reject that message? What do you do? What do you say?
My mind kind of blanks it out. It's like
Just
I can hear it.
blank it out. Goes in one ear and out the other is that image. Or we say no and we shake our heads. What else? Make an excuse. I don't believe it.
You disassociate yourself.
Disassociate yourself. Okay. Yeah. Talk to the hand. My favorite. I'm not listening. La 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 la. Say that to Temple all the time, right, Temple?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If you're on Facebook, you just keep scrolling, right? We all have friends who are diametrically opposed politically, and we keep seeing the stuff they post, the god-awful stuff they post, you know, and we love them, we want to know what's going on in their lives, but we think, man, it'd just be easier to unfriend them, right? But when we see those things coming up, or pictures of candidates, you know, we just scroll on by. Scroll on by. They didn't want to hear it. It was too hard. It's too hard. So what's Jesus been saying that is so difficult? God and I are one. That was difficult for them to hear. This is a monotheistic religion. And then he talked about, I remember last week we talked about the symbol of eating his flesh and drinking his blood. Yuck. Yeah, that's hard stuff to hear. Part of what this is saying is Jesus is saying to his disciples and to us, it takes a commitment. This Christian life takes a commitment. Are you in or are you out? That's what he's saying to his disciples today. Some of them said we're out. But too often, making commitment is easy for us to avoid. Maurice Boyd, when he's talking about the movie An Affair to Remember, had Deborah Kerr and Cary Grant. Some of you may remember that. These two lovers get lost in between Fifth Avenue and the Empire State Building. Somehow they miss. Boyd makes this point, and I love how he says it. He says, it can happen easily. All it takes is a head not turned or a face not lifted. A telephone not answered, a word not spoken, or not spoken in time. A letter not delivered, and a remnant of life becomes an inconsolable longing. It can happen easily. Case in point this week with Shannon. I was messaging with her on Tuesday night. She needed some help, and I said, sure, we can do that. I'll call you later in the week and we'll work out the details. Next morning I have to call for Linda. She's gone. If only I had called her, said, let's talk now. Others in her life are thinking, if only I'd been kinder to her, or if only I'd been more strict with her, if only I'd been more friendly, more upbeat, if only I'd been more serious. All of those things that run around in our heads, you know? Maybe none of that would make a difference, but we can miss it so easily. St. Augustine tells in his Confessions how that happened with him and God. He said, God was inside me, but I was outside myself. And that's how we missed each other. It's so easy to get outside ourselves. So easy sometimes to avoid. Archbishop William Temple was finishing up a mission he had in Oxford during World War II. He was in a sanctuary with lots of students. the music was wonderful, and they were singing that song by Isaac Watts, "When I Survey the Wondrous Cross." When they got to the last verse, he said, "Oh, hold on, stop." He said, "I want you to read over this verse before you sing it. There are tremendous words. If you don't mean them at all, keep silent. If you mean them even a little and want them to mean more, sing them softly." The last line, "Love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, my life, my all." Takes a commitment. That's what Jesus is saying to his disciples. There's no easy way around that. Are you in or are you out? Barbara Brown Taylor talks about visiting the island of Nantucket. She said it once was a whaling port and now is a tourist destination. Some of you may have been there. She said while she was there, she noticed people had on this particular shade of pink. Men wore trousers made of it, women wore jumpers made of it. She said, when I asked my innkeeper what I was seeing, she sent me to Murray's Toggery Shop down on Main Street, where I learned all about Nantucket Reds. The material I discovered was originally red sailcloth from France. After years in the sun and the salt, it faded to this particular shade of pink, aka Nantucket Red, which became emblematic for the island. Eventually, Mr. Murray had the idea of making clothes out of it. But rather than wait for the weather to fade the cloth, he pre-faded it. So that people who stepped off the ferry could come into a shop looking like landlubbers and walk out of his shop looking like old salts for a mere $50. She said, when I got back home, I placed this tidbit in the same folder with the ad for the pre-faded sun visor from a beachwear catalog, and pre-stained cowboy hats from a western wear shop. The ad said, made to look just like he rode in off the range. Have the look without all of the long hours on the range. She said, the problem, of course, is that a pre-stained cowboy hat does not teach you how to ride a horse, any more than Nantucket Red jumper helps you to know when the wind calls for a spinnaker rather than a storm jib. Those things take time. She goes on to conclude, since most Christians do not wear distinctive clothes or hats, I'm not sure that I can press this analogy further. But it seems to me that there's a version of Nantucket Reds available in many churches. Come to church. Sing the songs. Take a Bible home. But when it comes to Jesus, he says to us, are you in or are you out? Are you in or are you out? It takes a commitment. Now, there was another problem for them, and that is that this bread offered was not exclusive. It was offered for all. Now, this is a Jewish people who are exclusive, and they have an exclusive God. They were God's people. God was their God. And Jesus said to them, this is for everybody. We Christians have the same problem. You know, we even made up a theology and gave it a name. Call it the Trinity. How can one be more than one? How can three be less than three? It's not easy. I think we all want to be part of something exclusive. There's a little bit of us that want something exclusive. Want to be a part of something exclusive, or at least have the appearance of exclusivity. What brand of clothes do you wear? You know, if you grew up, when I grew up, in the city especially, you probably wear Levi's. If you were more rural, you probably wear Lee's. Right? What kind of shoes do you wear? What kind of tennis shoes do you wear? Nike? Some of those suckers cost $150, $200. Can you imagine? It's ridiculous. Maybe you have Adidas. You know, why do you wear this? What kind of car do you drive? Do you drive a Mercedes? A Lexus? A convertible? What do you drive? Why is that? I don't know. Look out here. Are there any golfers? I don't know. What kind of clubs do you use if you're a golfer, you know? He's a tailor-made driver. Temple knows all about that. Titleist golf balls. Yeah. $4 a piece. What kind of tablet do you have? Well, there's iPad and then there's everything else. No? Why is that? What kind of phone do you have? Which iPhone in the series do you have? Do you have the latest iPhone? Every time a new one comes up, Michael gets up and gets in line. Where do you get your coffee? Where's Anthony? Where do you go? There you are. What kind of coffee do you drink? If it wasn't exclusive, what's the point? Right? We all want something that's a little exclusive. And Jesus came saying, it's for everybody. And they say, this is too hard. This is too hard. We don't want to hear it. When Averill Nelson was buried in St. Paul's Cathedral, they had a service for him. His beloved sailors carried in his casket. After the service, they carried it to the cemetery. With great respect and efficiency, they laid it into the grave. They took this beautiful flag that draped his casket, and they ripped it into pieces, each one taking a piece. And they said, I've got a piece of him. I'll never forget him. All get a piece. That's what Jesus is saying. His body and his blood is for everyone. For everyone. No one's left out. No one's left out. That was hard for them to hear. It's hard for us to hear. We want to have categories. Are they good enough? Do they fit in enough? Are they doing the right things? Jesus said, it's not your problem. It's not your problem. This is for everyone. For everyone. Movie you probably did not see, Days of Thunder. Anyone see that one? Had, what's his name? Cruise guy. He played Cole Thunder. And when Cole Thunder's girlfriend asked him why he races those stock cars at 200 miles an hour, he said to her, I want to be able to control that which is out of control. Don't we all kind of want to have that feeling? Be at least on the edge. Well, a little while later in the film, while they're in the middle of a heated discussion, she puts her finger in his face and she says, listen, Cole, you better wake up out of your little dreamland and learn what everyone else in the world knows, that people are not in control of anything. People are not in control. It's for all. It's not up to you to give or to withhold. That's hard. That's hard. One Sunday in 1865, black men entered a rather fashionable Episcopal church in Richmond, Virginia. When Holy Communion was served, he came down forward and he knelt at the altar. There was a palpable discomfort among the members of this otherwise all-white church. One could almost hear them think out loud, who does he think he is? Doesn't he know we have a common cup? Then one distinguished layman got up, went down and knelt beside him. It was General Robert E. Lee, a hero of the Civil War. After that, he turned, faced the congregation, and explained to the worshipers, all men are brothers in Christ. Have we not one Father? It was as hard for them to hear as it was for the disciples, and sometimes for us. Well, humbled and chastised, members of the congregation, too shocked and proud to leave their seats, quietly came forward and received the sacrament. It's for all. It's for all. That should be a joyous message. There's an Arabic Baptist church in Israel that every time they gather together, everyone brings a handful of wheat grain. And they put it into a bowl when they get there. After everyone is there, someone takes the bowl, they take it out in the kitchen, and they grind it up with a stone mill. They add salt and water. They knead it, shape it into a loaf, and then they put it into a preheated oven. Then the service takes place, And when the service is just about over and it's time for Holy Communion, they bring forth that loaf of bread that all have participated in. And they share that loaf together. Anyone who is there, those who have brought wheat and those who haven't, those who are visitors and newcomers, those who have been there forever, they come and they join together in this meal that is for all. That's what Jesus is talking about. A common meal. It's for everyone. Should be seen with great joy. The pastor said, my mother was from the Appalachian Mountains of West Virginia, and my father was from the Adirondack Mountains of upstate New York. My childhood was as rich in dreams and radiant in hope as it was poor in economic realities. The street I was born on was known as Hungry Hill. He said, that's why we loved church picnics. We always looked for Ruth Kuhn, my mother's best friend, and her police officer husband, Dave. Ruth Kuhn would pack one incredible picnic lunch. When she got there, she would take it out and she'd spread it on the tables. Fried chicken, glazed ham, German potato salad, Boston baked beans, homemade bread and butter pickles, German chocolate cake, and Boston cream pie. Then he said we would hear the sweetest words any child growing up on Hungry Hill could ever hear. Ruth would look up and smile and say, I've got an idea. Why don't we just put it all together? Let's share. My father would immediately say, oh no, Ruth, we can't do that. We just simply couldn't even think of that. All the while he had his eye on her German chocolate cake. Oh, come on, Ruth would counter. Yes, you can. There's plenty of everything. There's enough of the salads. I made an extra pie. Let's just put it all together. Besides, Dave loves bologna sandwiches, don't you, Dave? And so we shared together. We ate like kings. Jesus calls us to come and to receive. And we think, no, we really can't do that. We haven't brought enough. We haven't done enough. I said, yes, you can. Come on down. Let's do this together. All are welcome. Fred Craddock, who was one of the best teachers of preachers and one of the best preachers, actually he recently passed away about a month or so ago. He told of being invited to the University of Winnipeg in Canada to give a couple of lectures. He was a sociologist. One on a Friday evening and one on Saturday morning. He said, I gave the one on Friday evening. As we left the lecture hall, I noticed it was beginning to spit snow. I was surprised, and my host was surprised because he had written, it's too early for the cold weather, but you might bring a windbreaker or a light jacket. Next morning, he said, when I got up, there were 2, maybe 3 feet of snow in front of my door. The phone rang, it was my host. He said, we're all surprised by this. In fact, I can't come and get you to take you to breakfast. If you could make your way down the block and around the corner, there's this little bus depot that has a cafe. Sorry, even the airport is closed. I said, I'll find it, not a problem. He said, I put on my light little jacket, it was nothing. I got on my little cap, put it on, it didn't even help in the room. So I went outside shivering, the wind was cold, the snow was deep. I slid and bumped and finally made my way around the corner into this little bus station. Every stranded traveler in Western Canada was there. Strangers to each other and to me, pressing and pushing and loud. I finally found a place to sit, and after a lengthy time, a man in a greasy apron came over to me and said, what do you have? I said, can I see a menu? He said, what do you want a menu for? There's soup. I said, what kinds of soup do you have? He said, there's soup. I said, that's exactly what I was going to order. Can I have soup? And so he brought the soup, said I put a spoon in it and I tried it. Man, it was awful. It was nasty. It was kind of gray looking. It was so bad I couldn't eat it. But I sat there, I put my hands around it because it was warm. I clutched it and stayed bent over my soup stove. The door opened again. The wind was icy and someone yelled, close the door. It came from this woman clutching her little coat. She found a place not far from me. The greasy apron came. What do you want? He said. glass of water. So he got her a glass of water and took out his little pad and said, what do you have? She said, just the water. You have to order, lady. Well, I just want a glass of water. Look, I have customers that pay. What do you think this is, a church or something? Now, what do you want? She said, just a glass of water and some time to get warm. Look, he said, there are people who are paying here. If you're not going to order, you got to leave, and he got real loud. So she got up and headed for the door. And almost as if rehearsed, everyone in the place got up and made their way toward the door. I said to myself, yes, I'm in. I'm voting for something. I'm not sure what it is. Then the man in the greasy apron said, okay, she can stay. And everyone returned to their seats. She sat down and he brought her some soup. Fred said, I turned to the person next to me and said, who is she? He said, I don't know, I never saw her before. The place grew quiet, but I heard the sipping of this awful soup. I said to myself, I'm going to try it again. I put my spoon into the soup. You know, it wasn't bad soup. Everybody was eating the soup, so I started eating the soup. It was pretty good soup. I don't know what was in it, but I do recall when I was eating it, it tasted a little like bread and wine. The table we are called to is open to all. It may look like some bread, some juice. It's really life. It's really life. And it's not just for us, it's for everyone. You come forward this morning, come forward to say, yes, I'm in. Come forward to receive life.